let's get into Peru. I mean, the first question that you answered for me right off the bat, I said, Fee, tell me, how long is it going to take them to vote? Because if it takes us hours over here, it must take them days in line, right? It's Peru. It's a third world country, people are saying. So
right. So first of all, let's go over once again, now that I'm here, you guys, I can tell you, like, again, 3 to 5 minutes to vote. They really had very few issues with the lines. Their issue was accessibility for the disabled. If sometimes things were on the second floor, they didn't have elevators. They don't have that infrastructure there. So what they did was they had to bring the tables down. That's something that they're working on, more accessibility. But their security is a lot better than ours, at the very least. They got rid of most of the electronic voting machines. They do paper ballots. They do like I said, a quick process that flows really, really quickly, really well. Yeah. And then they have also the observers that can come in. Of course, they were hesitant with some of them. And the thing that I liked, or that I wanted to point out, was that you have to provide your DNA, which is the ID. No, and and I'm just telling you, like, that's mandatory if you want to vote. And during COVID, they had specific times where they were pushing people to vote during certain hours. It wasn't 100% like mandatory, but they were like pushing you to go vote during certain hours, depending on the last number of your DNI, because they didn't want all these people going in at once. People, of course, could choose to not do that, but it was recommended. And also, they have 1 day to vote, 1 day. And there's no vote by mail. There's no drop-off boxes. There's none of that. It's just 1 day. And if you don't vote and you're under the age of 65, you will get a fine. And it goes anywhere between like 22 soles to 88 soles, depending on how much money you make, etc. So that's the way they do it. And that would seem very, just terrible if we did anything like that in America. I just wanted to put it in perspective how these people vote. And they have overwhelming turnout. Over 70% of the people there vote, and you can choose to not vote for either candidate if you don't want to. So you don't have to pick the lesser of evils. You can choose not to vote for either candidate. So that's just the breakdown of that. And I just wanted to start with, we have breaking news that Keiko Fujimori, if we're gonna go back here, is actually facing a demand to go to prison. Okay, they're trying to send her to jail because, like we've said before on the show, she has a charge for corruption. She participated in money laundering to a Brazilian presidential campaign in 2011 and 2016. And this prosecutor, he's a public prosecutor, is requesting that she is detained. And they want her to come into custody because of what she did back then. And what she did now is she broke her probation by meeting with one of the witnesses in her case. She's not supposed to meet with the guy. And that's exactly what she did. So there's a tweet here that I wanted to read, and I translated it for everybody. It's on my page. But I'm going to put it right here. So the prosecutor, Jose Domingo Perez, asked the judiciary to revoke the restricted appearance and ordered preventative detention against Keiko Fujimori for having met with Miguel Torres. He's the guy that was a witness in the tax investigation for her money laundering in 2011 and 2016 Brazilian presidential campaigns. This is why she's facing 30 years in prison. Now, this prosecutor is urging for her to be detained, which will obviously put a damper in what she's trying to do, which I'll get into in a second. She's trying to overturn over 200,000 ballots to put them into question because 100,000 or 100% of the votes that have been counted, right? 100% of the tallies have been counted. And Pedro Castillo is winning by near 70,000 votes. There is no way she can catch up unless she gets to overturn a percentage of those.
What is she saying the reason why we want to overturn these votes?
Right.
What is, that's the question,
yeah,
right?
So
you're going to go through that?
I'm going to go through that in 1 second. Oh, that was the other one. Let me see here. Okay, so this is the latest from the OMPE. I just wanted to show you guys. Jonny has the little table there. You can see the figure. And like I said, with 100% reporting, Pedro Castillo is effectively the winner. I mean, he's been congratulated by people in Bolivia. He's been congratulated by multiple just presidents, etc. And however, though, we can't say it's official. The Peruvian government hasn't announced it. The OMPE hasn't announced him a winner. So this is why we have to be careful of saying that he's the winner, because he's not yet in the eyes of Peru yet. It's not official because Keiko's demanding this overturning, this review, more so because she wants to lead to an overturning of ballots. 200,000 ballots in question. And basically, you can see here 100% tally. You can see all the counts. You can see the difference. He's at 50.198%, while she is at 49.802%. Yeah. Very, very close.
69,000, right?
Yeah, very, very close. And it went down a little bit, the difference, as they've been going through this whole thing. But she is claiming what is called fraude en mesa. Okay. And what that is that since there were less Fuerza Popular people working at the tables as poll workers, she's asserting that they manipulated ballots and they dismissed ballots that were hers and allowed more Castillo ballots in. She has no evidence of this. Most people, even on her side, aren't entertaining this idea, but they're going to start verifying las actas or the recorded tallies. Las actas or the recorded tallies. So the ballots in Peru are destroyed by now. All the ballots that people voted on, the individual ballots, they're destroyed immediately after the counts are done. What they do is they take a tally of each province, and I think in the article, see, there's an article later where I show the tally. Oh, I think it's here. I don't think you put that one up. El Comercio, Johnny. So if you scroll down, Johnny, to El Comercio article, that should be there in the document. I want to show people what an acta looks like. It's this figure right here. Just scroll down there. I don't know why it's not coming up. There. You can see, I think this is of Puño, and you can see what it looks like. That's an acta. You can see it's the total tallies, the total numbers. You see who got Keiko, you got Pedro Castillo. It's an acta de escrutino, and that one is just basically they take all of the votes and they tally them up, and they put the final number there. This is from the province Puño, and in the district of Acora, and you can see that that's what it is. Votos en blancos, votos nulos. So 10 votes that were null, 0 votes that were of neither candidate is voto en blanco, and then you can see that, and that's the total. So that's what they use. That's what they're going to go over. So she's bringing into question 200,000 ballots that she wants to 200,000 votes in total from these acts from certain provinces that she wants to scrutinize. That's what's happening. And that whole process is done in a way that is public. It's going to be done publicly, and I'm going to go over how it's done, the step-by-step process of how that's done, since nobody's gone over it, right? So in that tweet, Johnny, where it's in Spanish, let's see here, from the GNE Peru. Okay, so I'm just gonna translate the steps of that they're gonna do to do the whole process of the observed acts in English. So I'm gonna translate that. So what the first step is, they're gonna send the physical tallies observed in addition to the tallies that correspond to the JEE. So let me tell you guys what the JEE is. The JEE is the jury, the electoral jury, the specialty electoral jury, jurados electorales especiales. Okay, those are the jury of the electorate. Then you have the JNE, which is the jury of the national elections, and then you have the ODP, which is the office of the decentralized electoral process. These are different jurisdictions than the OMPE. And we've already gone over the OMPE, but this is exactly what the process goes through. And they send in the physical tallies that were observed and the tallies that correspond to the JEE. Then the JEE is going to issue a statement comparing the tallies observed by the ODPE and the corresponding ones as well, meaning like they're gonna look at the tallies they got and then compare the two, and then the results of this whole thing can be appealed to the JNE within 3 days of its publication in the JEE. So they're working in coalition together to make the process as easy as possible. The JNE will then go over this in a public forum where the press will be invited and the cameras will be there, and they will announce the final and definitive results within 3 days. So they have 3 days. Within 3 days after they all look over it, every single one looks over it, they're going to say in front of the press, in front of the media, in front of a public forum, this is what the final results are. And then once this is resolved, then they're going to be sent back to the OMPE to be added to the official tallies, because the OMPE is the ones that release the official numbers. So that's what has to happen for Pedro Castillo to officially be pronounced the president of Peru. And that process hasn't happened yet.
Okay.
So that's why it's not official that he's won. And I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer. I'm just trying to tell you guys.
They get rid of the ballots themselves, though? They destroy them?
They destroy the ballots after they're counted, because they're afraid somebody's gonna come in and take them. That they've had issues with that as well. That's why
the best thing is to destroy them, because now if they change these numbers, well, that's something that I'm not crazy about with those elections. Yeah. So I mean, one
of the things I'm not crazy about is that the process of the tally counting is done privately. I think that whole process should be done publicly. Right? Yeah. So you could see that. But again, our whole process isn't really as public as it should be either. No,
our process is terrible. So.
Yeah. So I mean, they have a way of doing things. They have these different organizations. You can, like, they tell you specifically, here's the process of what's going to happen. I've never seen that amount of like transparency with the Secretary of State or with all of that. They literally give people a rundown of what's going on. I don't trust the OMPE because I've already spoken about it. The head of the OMPE is a Keiko Fujimori sympathizer. He literally met with her. He was a member of the Fuerza Popular Party. But at the same time, it would be just blatant for them to cheat right now. They're just basically entertaining her demands. She's got the money to pay these lawyers. Yeah. She's got the power to pay these lawyers. She's going to continue to push this. She's not conceding. But now she's got this whole push to get her into prison, which is something that I don't think she was counting on. And I think it can put a damper in this whole thing. In the eyes of Peru, in the eyes of the world, Pedro Castillo is effectively the winner, but they just refuse to call it. Yeah. So
it's very close too, as well. I mean, that's neck and neck for that many type of votes. I'm just afraid that they're going to pull something out of their, course. And say, "Oh my God, look at this! We made a mistake. Actually, Keiko's the winner. They lost this tally sheet."
Yeah,
I don't know. So until he is standing up there as the president, I'm not going to trust it either.
Exactly. And again, if, like, for instance, a lot of people are like, "Well, maybe this is good because the narrative then won't be that Keiko is." That there's suspicion in the election, but you guys have to look at it from the perspective of maybe they want you to literally think he's the winner, and then they're going to come back and when you're not looking, change something. So you have to continue paying attention. And also, the truth is the truth, right? The truth is he's not the official winner yet, but he is effectively the winner, meaning he has the majority of the votes, the majority of the percentage with 100% report. He's already done. Like, he's already won. However, because she is putting things into question, it makes the process go on longer. It might take up to a week. Since yesterday, I think that was the time, like, that they were saying, like, a week or so for them to have. This is not normal. This has not happened in Peru where it's taken this long. People are like, why is this taking so long? We want a winner already. So you know that they're very scared. A lot of business people put in a lot of money into Keiko Fujimori's campaign. Her campaign is millions of dollars, where Pedro Castillo's campaign does not have that funding at all. So there is big money interest in ensuring she wins, and they're threatening to not do business in Peru. So what a lot of people are doing, like, there was this whole thing about Cusco. Oh, no vamos a hacer negocio en Cusco porque si Pedro Castillo gana, nos vamos. They're saying we're going to leave. We're going to take our business elsewhere if Pedro Castillo wins. So they're trying to scare people into saying,
Patricia.
"Wow, we don't want Castillo. See, they're all going to leave. All the rich people
Yeah,
are going to
right.
leave, and they're not going to do
Good.
businesses." And it's so ridiculous, Pasta, because those elites, the 1% in Peru, have never done anything for the working class in Lima, but somehow they're tricked into the mainstream media propaganda machine. Believing that they need these rich people, whereas the in the rural areas, in the rural provinces, they're not watching mainstream media, so they don't buy into the propaganda. They know what's going on the ground, so they're more aware, and they're more to the left and to just anti-imperialism. They don't like America. They don't like the West interfering in their country. That's why the party is called Peru Libre, and they actually supported Bolivians during the time of Evo Morales. They supported Bolivians on that end against the right-wing government that was trying to take over. And they were saying, fuera Yankees, fuera Yankees. They don't like Americans. They don't like the mainstream media. They know what's up. And it's interesting because it's the opposite here. And, people in more cosmopolitan areas tend to know be more in the know than people in rural areas. But that's just how it is as well.
Fuera Yankees?
Fuera Yankees.
Meaning leave Yankees?
Yeah.
Or,
Yeah, get out.
Get the fuck out?
Get the fuck out.
Is this video actually of Pedro Castillo?
Yeah.
I mean, you're right there, and Pedro Castillo's right there?
Yeah, he
Did
came
you try
out.
to get an interview with Pedro?
How could anybody get he came out for literally like
You
2
waved.
minutes.
You give him the Fiorella.
Nobody got an interview with him there. He was supposed to do a press conference that day. That's what happened. He was supposed to do a press conference. He canceled the press conference. And then people were like, when is he going to come out? Is he going to address the crowd? People were hoping he would say, hey, I'm the president. I won. But he won't. See, that's how you know it's not official, because he won't say it. He doesn't want people to think that he doesn't want the process to go through. He wants every vote to be counted. He wants to make sure people don't say, oh, you committed fraud, because Keiko's people are saying he committed fraud, when by all accounts on the ground, there was some fraud or like committed against him, at the very least bribery for people to vote for Keiko, and all of these things into question. The fact that the media didn't put out the breakdown of the rural areas, the rural provinces, they normally do that. They didn't do that this time. They didn't do the same type of what the polls, the what is it, the what do we call it in English? It's the exit polls that they normally do. They didn't do the same type of exit polls that they normally do. That they were like holding off a little bit, and people were asking why that was the case. So independent from the ones that you saw on TV during the first and the second, the blast that came of the votes, they usually do other exit polls, and they didn't do that normally. So that was a thing. So I just wanted to play the video and sort of translate what he's saying here, because he didn't say he was the winner, but he said he would fight for what the people wanted.
Gracias a cada uno de ustedes. Gracias por poner el hombro. Tenemos que ser respetuosos de la voluntad popular.
We have to be respectful of what the people's voice, the people's will.
Y ser el primero en hacer respetar la voluntad del pueblo peruano.
And I will be the first to respect the will of the Peruvian people. Because before anything, it's Peru. Before everything is the people. La patria is like the state. Brothers and sisters, compatriots, we will not get tired of saying what we've always said, that only the people will save the people.
Gracias, hermano. Gracias por ese esfuerzo. ¡Viva los hombres y mujeres del Perú! ¡Viva el pueblo peruano!
Thank you, brothers and sisters. Long live the men and women of Peru. Long live the people of Peru.
Muchas gracias, queridos hermanos.
Thank you very much, brothers and sisters. And then he's gone. Yeah, so he was just saying, you know, we're going to respect the will of the people. They've been very intent on that. You know, when Keiko was winning, they were like, oh, we need to stop talking about fraud and everything. But as soon as the turn happened where he started winning, they were like, oh, well, you know, we need to look over every single ballot. And it was just, it was very interesting.
180. So, yeah.
Yeah, 180.
So we just all have to sit and wait. It's still not...
not 100%.
Yeah, okay.
As soon as those actas are observed and the whole process that I just mentioned goes through,
I'm
then
scared,
it'll
though,
be
fam.
officially...
I'm scared they're going to find something, you know, and...
Yeah.
You know,
That's why I don't think we should count our, our chickens before they hatch. Like, I just don't, you know...
As vegans, I think we have to say something different, but I don't know. But, yeah, the roosters are coming home to roost, right? But
the chickens are coming home to roost.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a couple more things here. Let's see. Okay, so again, I already said it. Like, I'm not sure why people in the West are already saying, oh, he won. He hasn't won yet, guys. I'll let you know when it's official. Again, all the votes are counted. However, they have to go over the act. So I already pretty much went over that. And I had an issue with Kyle Kalinske. Apparently he did this video, and this is what I have an issue with. Like, Pedro Castillo is not there on social issues, right? He's weak on those issues, but you have to understand the context of
we should
where
have a conversation about
of where Peru is coming from. Peru is a heavily like Roman Catholic country. Mostly there's like Christians from, you know, like non-Catholic Christians, but it's overwhelmingly a Catholic country. Conservative still, needs a lot of work when it comes to, you know, domestic violence against women, needs a lot of work when it comes to acceptance of the LGBTQ community. The younger generations are more accepting, but the older generations and the people in the rural areas, they operate a certain way that they're just not aware of that. It doesn't mean that the West should get to say, oh, well, that's not good enough because we need to do this. We need to do it by our terms. Because Pedro Castillo, apart from the social issues that he's very weak on, and I don't think he's going to be able to legislate like that because, again, Peru is not, you know, it's changing. It's becoming more accepting. There are more people like my age, and, you know, I have cousins there that are like, yeah, they're very progressive. They're more aligned with with Castillo on economic issues, and on social issues they're completely open. But it's the older population that has yet to really wrap their mind around what is it, like trans rights and all.
I don't
all
even
of
think
those
they're
things.
near
And
trans abortion,
and
marijuana, gay marriage.
Yeah, marijuana.
They're not there
dude.
yet. Even marijuana, they're not. They're not there yet. But that's okay, and that would be the same way in the Middle East too. If you had these it'd be the same way. That's why I get offended when you hear this push for global leftists. Like, if you want to push leftists in an economic sense, okay, do it. That's what it's about. Strengthening labor, nationalizing your resources so that your country gets that. Get them more money, more education, more roads, more schools, whatnot, and eventually they'll get there on the social issues.
You can't,
We can't push them to do that right now.
You're like imposing your Western cultural like beliefs on people that it just comes off very patronizing. We may be right. And to say that, yes, they might, need to progress in that way. But I'm not going to go as a Westerner and dictate how somebody's country should be run when we can't run our fucking own country. Yeah. And when you put titles like this, controversial heterodox leftist wins Peru election, controversial why? He was more controversial not for the LGBTQ stuff. He was more controversial because he's a freaking rondero from the rural areas, very poor, a teacher, a striker, a leftist organizer. He's far to the left of any fucking politician on economic issues than we have here. far to the left of the squad. He's talking about redoing Peru's constitution, talking about kicking the DEA out, talking about just doing getting the mining and the resources into Peru. 70% of the money Peru makes goes out into foreign countries and the 1% in other countries. They don't get the money. And when you talk to Peruvians, even if they voted for Keiko, they agree that that's a problem that Peru needs to fix. But when you come in there and you impose your, oh my God, they're just not there enough on these issues, those issues aren't pertinent to people living in third world countries a lot of the time, because they don't have time to focus on that when they can't feed themselves, when they're literally living in conditions you can't even fucking imagine. So it's very patronizing, in my opinion, to hear this sort of virtue signaling from a lot of these leftists on the West.
That's what it is. Yeah, and it's virtue signaling.
It absolutely is. And so again, Kyle could have reached out and said, hey, let me have somebody on that knows what is going on in Peru from the ground, that knows the culture, that knows why people are like that. I mean, they're not even there on marijuana, dude. They drink like crazy. But when it comes to marijuana, and that's mainly Lima too, because when you think about it, it's funny. The native people, they chew coca. And what coca is what is used to make cocaine. Yeah. So they need to really understand, hey, wait a minute. Coca es una droga. It's a drug. And ayahuasca. Peruvians like ayahuasca. It is just their tea version of what it would be like mushrooms here.
It's a hallucinogenic, right?
It's a hallucinogenic, and people from all over the world go into the Amazon of Peru to get treated with ayahuasca for depression, for a lot of issues. So they're open to medicinal things. It's just a stigma in a lot of cities that is the propaganda, again, from the West. We did this, that says that marijuana is un marihuanero. That means it's a low life guy that does drugs. No, marijuana isn't a bad thing. But I'm telling you that even leftists who support Castillo aren't there on marijuana yet. It's something that they need to be introduced to. Yeah. That doesn't mean they won't be great on economic issues that will help the country. Same with Bolivia. The Western white leftists need to also understand where this culture comes from, where the conservative attitude comes from, and all of that. Especially also that the sterilizations that happened under Alberto Fujimori to the indigenous women, that also plays a part into the anti-abortion sentiment as well. You have to understand the context of all these things and not just make your
religion has a big part to do with that too as well. But I think too, fam, I just want to point out real quickly before you move on that I think here in America, that's this whole push for the social issues being put over the economic issues is a form of virtue signaling, and it is this form of American exceptionalism, because most people right here, even people of color who are poor in the States, are stressed because they don't have resources. Okay, give them resources and stuff like that. Not everybody thinks the same. It's not a monolithic kind of fucking mentality over here. And the fact that these social justice warriors think that they're doing the right thing by saying we got to use the right pronouns, we have to treat people better, it doesn't get resources into the hands of the people who need them. So shut the fuck up, be leftist when it comes to labor and economics, and then we'll swing around with the other stuff. The economics are important, because at the end of the day, everybody needs resources. It's not about money, it's about resources. It's about living comfortably in your house that you know you won't be thrown out of, that you'll get a paycheck where you can put food on the fucking table, that you can drive a car and get gas, or all those fucking things that you need. It's really disgusting to me that they really go out there and they push for this shit. It's all about the social issues. And I'm not saying that they're not important, but we need to get people economic help, and that's why there was a lot of people of color who voted for Trump this time, because they're so sick and tired of the Democrats and their virtue signaling and the Kamala Harris bullshit. And Kyle Kalinske to fucking put this up there, controversial heterodox. I mean, come on. Well, controversial how?
Yeah, and
because they're not there yet.
And it's I agree, the issues are important, but a lot of it is used for symbolic gestures here rather than any substantiative changes. Example, the pride parades. You'll see Boeing. You'll see the gas companies all with rainbow flags. Hello, they're part of the defense industry. I love pride parades. They're so much fun, but I'm just telling you. You have a lot of these corporations supporting Pride, putting a rainbow on their fucking slogan, and they're still hurting people of color abroad. Absolutely. And a lot of people who are poor are also LGBTQ people. So you can't be a hypocrite about these things. There is obvious, the lack of focus on economic issues in America is a problem. And don't criticize other, here, Danny Haifong said it. I'm just going to read his tweet.
I didn't put it in there.
Okay, yeah, let me grab it real quick. Danny Haifong.
While you're grabbing that, Finn,
Yeah.
I just want to say, yeah, obviously, what I believe in, I think what you guys believe in is a country's self-determination, right? They have the right to their self-determination, right?
Absolutely.
So Peru's not there yet. You guys mentioned it. It's the religious thing. It's socially conservative thing. It's basically a third world country, right? They're not there yet. They need to get there economically.
Education, too.
Education, exactly. Education, the education system. That's why they have the pencil, because they're trying to make the education better for that party. The thing you're gonna see is that the liberals are just gonna completely dismiss this whole election because of that. Because he's not there socials.
Yeah.
He's not there in the social issues.
Anti-gay, they're gonna call him.
Yeah, they're gonna completely dismiss it. So you won't see the same people who posted for BLM and posted for LGBTQ and posted for Palestine. They might not even post for Castillo. Literally because he's not there on the social issues, and that's like a problem that I hope some of those people realize that it's not left. It's not global left. You know what I'm saying? It's not.
Yeah.
It's a victory. It's a huge victory that Castillo won, because Fujimori was literally the daughter of a dictator and
if
the daughter,
he wins.
the daughter of a dictator. He basically won.
I mean, he basically won, but
did.
he's.
But I think they're going to pull some shit.
They're trying to.
I'm afraid there's too many natural resources there that the West wants.
Well,
and if they give it to fucking Castillo, he's going to give it to their people. And that just goes against the narrative of the corporations wanting all those minerals.
Yeah, well, if he wins, just so you guys know, also a lot of people got elected into Congress that are for Peru Libre, but there's also a substantial amount there's about like 20-something% of Fuerza Popular that got elected. And there are other parties there, like the Aprista party and other parties that have been bought out by Keiko's party. So they could all combine effort and oppose his party, because his party is a majority now. Yeah. The Peru Libre is a majority now. Why are they the majority? Because people of Peru see what's happening and they're done with it. And Lima isn't Peru, meaning there are many other provinces outside that have a huge voice. So that's what's happening. Yes, there could be, if he wins officially, which I think is likely to happen, right, with everything facing Keiko. If he wins officially, he should expect complete opposition, a lot of money against him, a lot of smears tying him to terrorism, because that's still going to continue. Don't be fooled, that's going to continue. And also a possibility of a coup. He needs to pay attention to the military and how to get the military on his side, because
that's going to be
we need
another
to learn
issue.
from Evo Morales.
Yeah.
He seems to be aligning more with Evo Morales and Bolivia than he is with Venezuela. And again, I've gone over why. They're trying to make sure that a lot of people aren't turned off by that as well. So, but Danny Haifong said it best. He said, "Dear Americans and Westerners, you've yet to wage a successful socialist revolution. Please stop telling us how to run ours. Sincerely, China, Cuba, DPRK, Cuba, we put Cuba twice, Venezuela, Nicaragua, Iran, Syria, and the anti-imperialist world." So, I mean, it's true. You may not like China's authoritarianism. You may think Cuba is authoritarian. You may think that DPRK is authoritarian. You may think Venezuela is authoritarian. You might have your reservations about Iran and their beliefs religiously, and Syria and Assad. That's irrelevant. They have managed to wage revolutions in their countries. We haven't. So before you start nitpicking on their social justice issues and their lack of, attention to them, how about we fix our own fucking country? And stop being the patronizing assholes. Like the same way Manifest Destiny and all of that worked in an imperialist way, the social justice, hyper obsession, and I'm not saying it's not important. Again, I want to reiterate that it absolutely is important. I've had family members who are gay and who have completely suffered in Peru, literally. And so I understand that, but what I am saying is you're not going to move those people to your side by going like this and wagging your finger at them and saying we're better when we're not, and we literally screw their countries left and right all the time. Yeah. So that's that on that.
I think people have to wake up in this country right now. We're doing it in this country right now. People are poor. they are living paycheck to paycheck. They are one fucking paycheck out away from being on the streets, and that is a scary thing. So instead of sitting there and making sure we use the proper pronouns and address people properly, and I'm not saying it is important to be kind and loving,
or that I won't do it if you ask me to. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's more important, in my personal opinion, to make sure that people have a roof over their head, have heat in the winter, aren't living out in the streets, can get themselves the medicine they need for their children, feed themselves. I mean, there's so many things right now, and we are turning into a third world country, and we're sitting here and bickering about social issues. I mean, come on, guys. I'm so sorry. If you put them both together, if we can walk and chew gum, show me we can walk. Because I hear that all the time. Well, we can walk and chew gum. Well, you never bring up foreign policy. You never bring up economic issues. You let your dear members of the squad and all these other people, say, oh, we're mitigating damage. You let them get away with bloody, bloody murder. They haven't done a goddamn thing for people. So you progressives need to wake up.
And they don't do shit for your social issues either. Most of the time it's symbolic.
Yes.
So again, and in order to amp up education on social issues, you need to change the economics of people. Mm-hmm. These people aren't going to care about these social issues in these third world. You don't understand how people live in third world countries. Johnny knows. Johnny, you've been there. You see how people live, the means that they have, and still there's not homeless people. There's very few homeless people in Peru. Very few homeless people still. Yeah. And that just goes to show you, in the richest country in the world, they have more homeless people. And we still wag our finger at how other countries run and how religious some of Iran is and all this other stuff. That you're not going to change people's beliefs like on those issues right away. You just have to give them the economic means and educate them and let them have self-determination. Yeah. Because we're not here to dictate how other people how other countries and other people in other countries need to behave. Yeah. And I'm so done with that part of the left that's it's just they completely distract. It's a distraction. Nothing gets done.
They have this legislation for the politician to recognize. I want you to recognize. It's like, what do you want? Just get some good fucking policy in there. Yeah. You want the politician to recognize something, whether it's recognizing this or, what I'm saying? You want them to recognize something that you think is wrong in the social behavior, and you want them to put them on record for recognizing stuff. Come on, guys. Come on. It's awful. And, that's some great coverage, fam. I am glad that you went to Peru.
Thank you, fams, for getting me there. I truly appreciate it. I couldn't have done it without you. Yeah. So we love you, and we want to do more of this. Now, we want to go. He wants to go to Ecuador. We want to go to all these places, or El Salvador. Yeah. We want to go to all these places. Yeah.
I got to practice my Spanish, though. So you said, what was the name of the app that I should use?
Duolingo.
I'm going to use Duolingo and play some games.